So please join me in welcoming Mr. Kevin McCormick to the stage. Go to the clicker. Big words.
Okay, all right. Hi everyone, thank you for having me up here again. I found out that I was giving this presentation 2 hours ago, so you'll forgive me if some of these slides look new to me when I start going. Some of you that might have been here for a while might remember that a couple of years ago I stood up here and kind of gave you the transition that the library underwent when we went from college to university and how we sort of embraced that research culture and made some pretty substantial changes to our resources. And I was able to do one walkthrough of Gordana's slides this morning, and I realized that this, instead of giving you exactly like the concrete changes we made, this is more of the vision of how we can get you to engage with us a little bit better and have a little bit stronger relationships between your teaching and classroom work with the services that we aspire to provide. So like all libraries, we're here to support your research, your learning, and your teaching. I'm the head of scholarly communications and research, so I'm pretty much your go-to person to support your research process, the research ecosystem. We've always had a very strong focus in learning and the resources available, making LinkedIn Learning, for example, available for students. We've tried to expand that scope for faculty now, so we do have faculty development modules specifically in areas of research, and I know Dr. Vladimir talked about improving grant writing, bringing in more grants. We've now got modules through Springer Nature that are self-paced, that are designed specifically for you guys to kind of expand that skill set. Everything from research collaboration, posters for your modules for posters for yourselves, but also for your capstone students, your master's thesis students. It's a resource available to the whole community, and that's just one aspect of learning. I will get into more soon. And then, of course, teaching. Many of you do have a librarian come into the classroom at some point and kind of give some kind of presentation, be it how to find the research articles, or I think we've done previous ones, research ethics, and all sorts of different things. But we'll get into a little bit more about how we can start better supporting, better streamlining those things. So as I said, I'm the head of scholarly communications and research. That's just one unit branch of the library. And these are sort of the 4 areas that I would say are the public side, or the side that you guys would see more. We do have, a whole areas that sort of make us operate on the back end that are not included here. But I am your point of contact if you find out, what types of strategies you can employ to make your publication be more impactful. If you're willing to align with our priorities of achieving like a high ranking, there are other things you can do as individuals to strengthen your article's impact. One of those things, for example, is not always signing all of your rights away when you go and publish an article with a publisher. Please come to the library, at least for not your first time publishing, but the next time you publish, and let's go through it together so that you can retain some of your rights, and you can do more things with your articles, including putting them in repositories and in a full text version. We find across the board that people who do that tend to get more citations. There's also other strategies I can teach you about what metrics go into the rankings to really strengthen that you can sort of tailor your article towards and kind of make sure that your articles are one of those ones that we lean heavily on to achieve like a higher ranking. We have reference and instruction. The head of that is Ms. Khadija Masood. Khadija, wave. Yay. Khadija's excellent. And she's manager of the section head of library services as well. She's going to be your point of contact for those in-class instructions and getting your students to come in and have one-on-one sessions with us in the library to improve those assignments and skills. We do see through the literature a one-for-one correlation between the more time that students spend in the library and the higher their grade average. We'll kind of get into that a little bit more. The learning spaces have drastically improved here. When I came, I don't know the last time you were in the library, but they were quite loud. So we've been improving our spaces, the learning commons, and the library by putting in sound masking equipment so that it's less noise transference. We've changed the light bulb types and the the hues of it so that it's more consistent to what evidence base is saying is the best sort of lighting for students to study under. And then we have the university archives, which is particularly helpful for you guys to get your physical exams off your desks and into storage. But we also do want to collect your successes and your wins for longevity and things we can lean on to see our historical wins in the future. So a little bit about my area. I'm not going to go in and read these, but I am here for the entirety of your research life cycle. I don't know what this is because it's not my slide. Nope. For the entirety of your research life cycle. So there's different projects that you're going to do, not just regular journal articles, but also types of evidence synthesis. If you're developing case studies, if you're developing open educational resources, please know that there is support on campus within the library to handle those sort of niche ways where you want to maximize your impact and figure out ways to get grant fundings and awards and different things to do different types of publications that are sort of atypical. We also are happy to sit with you and explain international and counter copyright law, which is sort of helpful if you found this weird textbook in the internet somewhere about how much you can legally disseminate. I know it's not the most intriguing thing, but we do have laws that we play within it. So if there is any copyright questions beyond the legal team we can advise for your teaching and learning, please do reach out to us. We also will help you manage your ORCID and Scopus profiles. I hope you all have an ORCID profile. I was considering asking everyone if they have one, but let's not put everyone on the spot here. But developing that, your ORCID profile, that's one of the things that we need to ensure that your work is going to be counted towards our overall institutional reporting and excellence and our ranking. And as always, we're here to help find you research and resources. The library manages the institutional repository, Minara. We recently got some more staffing support to make this more robust. As Dr. Ladner said, we have 835 articles that are Scopus indexed, and about 493 of those, as of this morning, have some level of open access. So the open access articles, we're going to help you guys and automatically start migrating that work over into Minara so that there's another access point for it. But what's more important and more intriguing is about getting the stuff that you've published behind paywalls, a full text version of that available on Minara. So there is embargo periods, but we'll help you navigate those and be able to put a preprint or an author-accepted manuscript. And I found it's pretty successful. I have some preprints on there that if you just Google the title, it's the fourth result in Google, and people can get who can't afford the paywalls, and universities, particularly in the global South, can actually access your work. And again, think about how that impacts potential citations. It doesn't really matter who's citing your work. A citation is a citation, whether it comes from Harvard or some school you've never heard of in some other part of the world. So we do want to be able to get more access points to your research. And to that end, we have 25 faculty who have actually created profiles on Minara and are uploading their own articles when they're available. I encourage you all to either reach out to me or create a Minara profile, start sharing, disseminating your work. It's not just journal articles, posters, data from your projects, all types of chapters that depending on the embargo periods. These are all things that can go on the institutional repository, and these things actually impact not only the rankings, but also the UNSCG rankings. So UNSCG is calling for us to be more open and more open access. And to that effect, I'm hoping that by the end of the year, we can get 75% of our total publications, a version of that outside, freely available to everyone. And that includes getting a lot of your work that was behind a paywall out in public. Reference and instruction. We have a lot of developments with reference and instruction, and I'm very pleased that we have a very competent team that can go in and give classroom instruction, and they host a wide range of topics that kind of deal with the library. A lot of you use our services, particularly for first-year classes. It's becoming a lot. As the school's expanding, we're not getting quite as many librarians as there are classes, to do in the first 2 weeks, but please reach out to us. We do try to make time for you. one of the new tools that we've developed, that we signed up for, is Genius. Genius is an AI tool, and it's designed to help yourselves and your students with their research projects or their assignments. And basically, the crux of it is you could kind of input a paragraph of work in your literature review, and you can ask it to pull out sources that are relevant to this type of work. So if you're doing, even for your literature review, you can start just feeding it ideas, and it's going to pull out reliable academic sources in a way that things like ChatGPT currently does not. It says on here that it's pulling from open access. It's not just pulling from open access, it's also pulling from metadata from stuff that's behind paywalls that we can look for ways to find access to for you. There should be on all of your computers a plugin that the library has IT send out that there's like a little green button, and if on the bottom of the page, if there's access through the university library, it'll prompt you to click through there. If you've never seen or heard of that before and your computer doesn't feel like it has it, please reach out to me. It does make finding your resources and your site sources a lot simpler. Course reserves is something that we've offered for a very long time, and it's kind of severely underused here. It's a shame because it's a good way to get students to actually, that won't buy the textbook, to actually give them an opportunity to, get the book and scan it and do all. You can borrow it depending on your rules you assign. It could be for a couple of hours, 1 day, 3 days, depending on what you want to do. But it's not just books that you could put on Course Reserve. You can put ebooks. Some people from the past have put old copies of exams that they wanted them to be able to use to study with. Kind of put anything. My director said you could even put photographs if it's relevant to your topic that they can use and come and see and study. So I hope you'll kind of start engaging with Course Reserves a little bit, keeping in mind that if it's a physical book that you need us to source for you, it takes 1 or 2 months sometimes to get to Qatar. So especially over the summer, if you have a course that you know is coming up in the fall, send me a message in July, and we'll see what we can have ready for you when we get here. But those ebooks, copies of it, those can go on Course Reserves as well. Yeah. And there's the URL. I assume this is being shared with you guys at some point by the URLs, but I'll leave it up for a second in case people need a picture of it. Archives. The University Archives is mandated to collect and store and make available and preserve your achievements and the university's achievements beyond just our lifetimes here. That is first and foremost our goal, but in a room full of faculty, I know that a lot of you are sending over your student exams as well. Just in the interest of space, we offer the service that we will preserve and hold on to your exams for accreditation purposes and for later review and stuff like that. I know a lot of you that have been here for a long time, had a way of getting stuff together in your boxes and sending it over. We've been asked to sort of streamline and improve that process. So the previous iterations of dumping things in a box or putting your neighbor's exams in your box and sliding it over to us, we would do the processing in the background and not bother you with it, and just try to be as helpful as we can. But with the volume of faculty now, we do have to impose upon you to have a little bit better record hygiene. So we will come to the office and have a sit with you and be like, this is how we need the records organized, because it will be recalled in time for, again, accreditation. Your managers might recall it to find out, the quality of your exams, to keep that in mind. And, students might dispute their grades, and when you send us the records, the expectation is that we have an idea about where it is. So good record hygiene sort of helps us navigate that. So I apologize if there's going to be some back and forth, but I think we've streamlined it in a way that it's pretty painless, but it might mean learning a different way to transfer us records, which I think is actually on the next slide, file management. This is all available on our website, but the archives team is more than happy to come and sit with you and kind of explain this in just a couple sentences. I promise it won't hurt. And they usually don't bite. So this is the area where I want to get you guys thinking about, or Gordon wants to get you guys thinking about, the kinds of collaboration you guys could have with us. Some of it is already in the works, some of it we're working with some of you, and a lot of this is taken from what other libraries around the world are being asked of the faculty, that you in theory could be asking of us. I'm going to do that thing where I don't know how many of these there are. Particularly here, and just in the interest of time, I don't want to go and be reading all of this, but we are starting to create integrations into D2L learning management, your learning management system. We want to start creating modules. I think there's going to be another slide for this later, where we're going to be able to go create a module to sort of introduce your students to research and library research, where they'll be able to use that as a first contact. You'll, as specialists, you'll say, well, you'll be introducing research and say, this is research particularly relevant for this field, and this is how you find that. And then you can have the librarians come in and really cement it home so that they're not just seeing it once, and it's not just librarians coming in and introducing it once at the beginning of their program, and then they never hear from us again, or they never really get it cemented in their mind. We do have fourth-year students coming to the library who do not know the difference between primary and secondary literature. So this is something that this needs to be taught year in, year out. And the way I think it would be most efficient for us to do that is embedding modules in your courses. Because again, there is not enough of us to kind of be in every class every year during every time slot. Open educational resources are quite interesting, and I think the criticism of a lot of the open educational resources is they aren't of particularly high quality. So one of the things that we want to do is start separating the not so good stuff from the good stuff, and finding out how and which particular subjects we have strong OERs that can support your department. But in particular, we do have sort of the expertise and the resources to guide you into creating meaningful OERs where there might be able to get funding behind it, there might be able to get put it up for different awards, and there might be different ways of showcasing your OERs to other universities. And there are publishing houses that are really trying to push for that. We know specifically College of Business is going to get a module tomorrow from Khadija that kind of goes into what publishers want to do, developing case studies, and some of them can be open access, some of them might not be. So for the data analytics and evidence-based support, as I kind of said earlier, one of the things that we know is that if we're able to get your support to get all the right resources into the library and we manage the space well, we know there's a one-for-one correlation between student success and the amount of time they spend in the library. But the library needs to have the right resources. So if you don't know the name of a librarian, there's a good chance I don't know the specialist stuff that you're into. So you need to let us know what you're working on, what your research interests, and make sure that we can put aside money to support your area's goals. One of the, around the world, the big ask is for us to improve and create modules and do workshops that kind of increase critical thinking. Again, this is where you guys can kind of come in and say, critical thinking is great, but I also would like a module in this sort of area. And we can start putting different ways that students can start getting these concepts. So it's not just coming from you, it's not just coming from us in one collaboration, there's different modes of learning. And integration with curriculum, sort of got ahead of myself, but that's what this is. This I thought was particularly interesting. It's different modalities of literacy, so learning about data literacy or different styles of learning for different kinds of subjects. So it might not all just be showing them where the journal articles are. Maybe there's a different way that we can reach different users. One of those that was mentioned in the session before with the panel here was gamification. So maybe there's some type of gamification work in terms of, I don't know, I'm going to keep saying module because it's on top of my mind, but something that we can work together towards creating some kind of gamification, literacy, integration for your class that has some overlap with research and library world writ large. Now look, gamification. Again, not my slides, but at least Coda and I are very much on the same track in our minds here. So ending with this, basically I just need you guys to actively engage with us. One of the things that we're hoping to get approval for is a library advisory committee where we have faculty from different areas helping us guide your research interests, what you're being asked that we're maybe not aware of, and the different ways that we can find some interoperability between us. The way other libraries around the world kind of create a more seamless transition, and you could then hopefully be able to rely on us a little bit more than you have been. Though I will say that my inbox is full, so that I am getting a lot of outreach from a lot of you, so thank you for that. We continue to be here if you need our help. I will leave our contact details for the section heads, I guess, available to you. The next slide just says thank you, so I'm just going to leave it here if you want to take a picture or whatever. Thank you for your time. I hope I didn't run too far over. Bye, guys. Questions? There was a lot of questions. Any questions I can answer about publication, perhaps ranking, perhaps evidence synthesis projects, anything in particular coming to mind? Oh, yeah, click one or two. Hey.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for the information. That's very helpful. I wanted to ask, like, in previous universities that I worked at, when they have prescription for certain journals, which impose or requires fees for publication, some of these journals will waive these fees if there is a contract between the university and the journal. Does this exist at UDST?
So one of the things you're talking about is called read and publish agreements, where we take the subscription that we use just to read articles and we pad it a little bit and make a different agreement with them where we say we'll pay a little bit more into one fund, and in return that same publisher might let us publish 10 or 50 or 100 articles or something like this. So currently in Qatar, Qatar National Library, as you know, is the one with all the read and publish agreements. There is room for us to have our own when our 3-year subscriptions run up. So I do have a subscription, again, without making any promises. There's a publishing subscription that's coming up that I want to explore read and publish with and start see what the cost difference is and if it can be folded in. Unfortunately, there's been no funding, despite requests, funding set aside to support that at this time. We did ask for a pot of money for open access to be pulled from us. We've had Qatar National Library offer to manage the fund for us without fees, like they would just do it out of altruistic things, because libraries are altruistic. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to get that yet, but we have been continuing to request it. But it is a good idea, you're right. A lot of other universities do have those type of agreements. We do not yet. Sorry. Soon, hopefully. There was a push up there, there's one down here.
Thank you very much. I have one question that is related to the plagiarism.
The which plagiarism?
Plagiarism, yes.
Yes.
Can you specify any tool which we are using for plagiarism check in UDST?
Yes.
Because I have been here almost 6 months.
Yep.
So I'm still not aware of that.
Okay, great. No, we do have a plagiarism software that's intended for faculty use because it's got a limited number of seats. It's called Authenticate, and it's owned by or hosted by the IT department. So all you have to do is go in and create a ticket for a new software and then authenticate. I'm going to throw IT under the bus here. They don't update their list of anything despite asking for it, so you actually have to know that they have authenticate. So please do email me. I will send you the name of it if you haven't heard of it. And what it can do is it gives you your plagiarism, your similarity score, it'll identify if it's heavily plagiarized, it'll to an extent tell you, actually quite robustly tell you what part is computer AI generated. It is intended for your publications and for faculty use. It isn't a tool to run like where Turnitin has like the thing for student research and stuff. this isn't that, but you could use it if you're willing to manually sit there and upload every student's paper and run an Authenticate score for them. You're welcome to do that, but there's no seamless integration, and there's no way for students to actually do it themselves.
My main concern is that we are actually focusing too much on research from our vision is also for the research. So wouldn't it be better that we have something like Turnitin so we can have
Something like
the software like Turnitin so we can check our own
So you have Turnitin, but your departments would then be responsible for Turnitin authorship, which is the back end of Turnitin and what it the robustness of that software. I used to be the academic integrity guy at my last job, and the robustness of that software was that it checked the students' submissions over the course of their university lifetime. So it would track their writing level, for example. So if you saw a spike, it would be one clue that maybe they didn't write this, or it would tell you the originator of the document, and sometimes you would see it's unemployedprofessors.com. Those type of resources to be able to do your checks. Because it's a teaching and learning issue that would kind of fall within the mandate of your departments. It's not really a library tool unless we were to take over academic integrity on campus, which I don't actually know who does that.
Yeah, actually in my previous university, so this is all controlled by the library. So
Agreed. And like I said, my last job was in the library as well. Here, not yet. And don't want to step on anybody's toes.
And the second thing, like Taylor and Francis, so they have an open publication contract with Qatar Foundation, right?
Qatar National Library through Qatar Foundation.
But I went to their website. Unfortunately, I could not find UDST there. But
you won't find UDST because it's not through us. So there's a national agreement, not an institutional agreement. So all agreements, when you're submitting your open access for, it does not just Taylor and Francis, but the rest of them, and you're looking for somebody to pay, it's not UDST, it's Qatar National Library, but you need to contact Qatar National Library in advance to find out if there's a token available for you, if you can reserve it, and then at that point you can go into Emerald or whatever, Taylor and Francis' system, and say the payment is for Qatar National Library. You will not see UDST there. We don't have any agreements.
Yeah, because my concern was again that there were so many universities listed in that.
I completely agree. And honestly, please continue to voice it further and further up, because this is the same question here as the read and publish agreements. I would love to have it. We just don't have the resources at this time. But if the more pressure you guys put on the administrators, hopefully we can get that next year or two.
I guess it's my turn.
Yeah, but where are you?
Right. Yes. Sorry, you may have mentioned this, but as a newcomer, I didn't hear that. So if first of all colleges actually have a designated library staff that work with them, or is through a central?
No, so we don't have we call liaison librarians.
Right.
Specific yet. Unfortunately, the team is still a bit too small, so we have it's sort of divided between academic research, me, and then my team, and then teaching and learning, which is Khadija and her team.
Okay, so I'll give you an example. If I had a research, sort of a trainee that wanted to do literature search, the way that we want, and for a systematic review or scoping review, would you be able to actually help with that? And previously, I have been exposed to two schemes of, operational thing. One was that the liaison librarian would actually seek authorship.
Yes.
In those.
And he's not a plant.
Okay. And then the other one was that no, it's part of their mandate, and they had to do that because they were stationed in the university.
Completely agree. So there's a lot there. Thank you for the questions. It's a really, really good one. We will support in some way, shape, or form. So we have in the past had, for example, Khadija and her librarians will come in to actually give a high-level overview of the steps that go into it and the nuances, which is not quite the same as holding their hand through the actual process. So I know for health sciences, a lot of the master's students are doing an evidence synthesis, some kind of scoping review or systematic in parallel to their major project. In that situation, it's very difficult because the volume of work that goes into it is more than the library can currently at capacity hold. So we do have a LibGuide that we can share. We were willing to come into the classroom to discuss it, and we can have one-on-one appointments at every step for the student just to come in and say, okay, I've done this. what's next, and we can get there. For students, unfortunately, it's not the same as for us to be able to go in and say, let me sit there and walk you through as a co-author. But for faculty, we do have a co-author option. And we have 3 tiers of service for this. It's just a consultation, and might indicate a couple hours of work on my time, an in-depth consultation, which might be 6 or 8 hours of work on my time. And a lot of you have come to me to help you figure out search strings for particular databases, because the nuances of how to do Boolean and PubMed is not the same as Web of Science and that kind of stuff. Yes, the library is going to help you with that. And then there's the 3rd tier of service, which is co-authorship. And we do have an MOU that we have you sign. It's we put you through the hoops a little bit. I want to see like 10 seed articles from your team to know if this project is feasible. And part of the reason we do that is we offer to pay for a competence license for articles that we're co-authoring with you. So we can't continue to just hand out licenses that we aren't involved with anymore. But if it's something, if it's something that we can work together with you, absolutely, and we'll make sure it goes through PRISM standards and all that stuff, and it'll be high quality. There is a little bit of a wait because it's only 2 librarians currently who can do that level of support. But my next librarian who will be able to hopefully help starts on Sunday, and I believe somebody we hired last week is also a health science expert.
He or she can be designated as healthcare.
Honestly, if I had to get a librarian that was, we start with liaison librarians because of the complexities of health science would be the one who gets it first.
And one last question, perhaps, Authenticate works with AI perfectly, or is it AI?
It started its AI integration last year, January. So it's now able to do identifying like ChatGPT created content, whereas before last year it didn't do that as well. I am being told that time's up, but I'll be outside I think after this, and then if anybody has any questions, come and hang out with me. I hope that answered that. You're all great. Those are great questions. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you very much, Kevin McCormick.